Hello, hey everyone, welcome back to the course. And in this video, we are going to talk about a very important concept in JavaScript, which is arrays. So, arrays are basically the collection of a similar kind of data. We say that a string, or we say that objects, we say that a string or integer. So, that is what we say about the arrays. Like we collect the data and we put inside a single particular thing. If we talk about, like, we have got fruits, right? We wanted to have the data for the multiple fruits like apple, bananas, grapes, or some other fruits. We can just put inside a single array. To create the array, there are basically three different ways. By creating a literal array, we will see this is basically the example where we create an whatever the name of our array is, and inside our square bracket we usually provide the values from value 1 to value n. Then we have got creating an instance directly using the new keyword. If you see here, we have got a new array. Here we have got this is the array name, and this is just creating a blank array. Number three is using the array constructor using new keyword. When we talk about array constructor, that means we are basically going to provide the multiple elements. Here we can provide from element 1 to element n. There is no such limitation for providing the array elements inside the array. So basically these are the three ways to declare an array inside a JavaScript, and you will be working with arrays in mostly all the Lightning Web components that you will be developing. So let's quickly see these arrays in action, and then we will talk about what are the various methods that are related to the array in JavaScript. So as we've talked about, right, we have also created an array in the previous video. So we will say that, okay, I will say that, let's say we are creating an array of fruits, and here we can have like this. If you don't provide any literals or any element inside the array, right, that is also basically creating an array, and you are okay with this. If you try to print the fruits, you will see a blank array. Now if you wanted to have values over here, how you are going to add that? That will come as a part of our array methods. So here, if you wanted to have some fruits like say that apple, or we say that banana, then we have got two elements over here, right? Now if you wanted to get one element, how we will get that? So we'll say that fruits, which element you wanted to have, we say that, okay, we've got, you wanted to get the first element, which is always going to start from 0. So we will say that, okay, we've got apple. If you wanted to get the second element, as we know that the array of length is 2, so it is going to have will have 1, and we'll get the second element. So indices always start from 0, and it is always going to the array length minus 1. So when we say that length minus 1, so if we try to print array length, we will get 2 over here, right? You see 2. So indices will always be 2 minus 1, which is basically array dot length minus 1, which is 1. So you see 0 and 1. If we have more, right, let's quickly try to have some more values over here. So now we have got 3. So how many indices will be? Like, what will be the maximum indices? It will always be array dot length minus 1. So if we say that fruits dot length and we say minus 1, this is going to be your last indices in your array. If you wanted to get the last value of your array, you'll say fruits, you'll say array dot length minus 1, and you will get this. If you try to put array dot length, you'll get the error which is saying that undefined, because there is nothing on the indices, which is number 3. So that is how basically you get the values. And if you wanted to have, you can say that delete, and you say that fruits, and say if you wanted to delete the third element, this is not going to work. You say, sorry, this is again another way. If you say here, we've got empty. Basically what it is doing is, it is deleting the element. It's not actually deleting the space, or it's not actually deleting the indices. So if you try to get this again, right, try to get the last index, you will get there is undefined. This is basically an empty value. So if you try to if you try to print the length, you will still find 3. So basically this is a very simple thing about the arrays. Now as we talked, right, array can have multiple things. Basically we talked about array can have similar type of things, but it also can have array, and then it is also can having array inside another over here, so that 23. So you will get the length is 5. Out of 5 you have got 0 to 2, these are the name of your fruits. Number 3 is basically a number, and then number 4 is again another array. So basically this is how your arrays work. It can contains anything, but usually when we talk about in the definition side, we say that array is a collection of similar items. Now let's talk about the array methods. So basically there are multiple methods. There are too many methods on the arrays. So we are going to divide these methods into the different videos. So we'll talk about these methods in this video. Then we'll talk about few more in the next video, and then we'll talk about few more in the next videos. So basically there will be 3 separate videos for the array method. So the first method that comes is which is concat. So if you have one if you have more than one array and you wanted to create a new array, then you can use a concat that can basically concat the array into more than one array into a single array and returns a new array. Entries, it is going to return the entry of the arrays in the iterable object. Every is basically a method which takes a one parameter, which is a function again, and that function determines if that array have each element which is passing a particular condition that we are defining inside a method. If it is, then it is going to return true. If it's not, it is going to return false. Basically that is what the method says. For every single element there should be a condition which is matching. We'll talk about that. Then from, basically creating an array from a set or a map or a string. Then for each, this is again a kind of for loop which you can run on an array, which is going to iterate with each element of your array, and you can modify the array indices values, or you can modify the array elements. Includes is going to tell you either a particular element is there in the array or not. Index of is going to find out the first index of that particular element. Is array is going to tell you either the particular array is a form of array or not. Join is going to convert your array in the form of a string, and keys are going to return the iterable key for that array. So these are the different methods. Now let's quickly talk about one by one, and we'll start from the concat. So now we have got one array which is fruits. Now let's quickly have another array. We'll say that users. So we've got two arrays, right? We've got fruits, we've got users. Now if you wanted to concatenate these into a different array, we'll say that concat array. And how we will say that? We'll say that if we wanted to concatenate these values into the arrays, we'll say that fruits dot concat, and here we are going to provide users. And we can provide multiple arrays over here by comma separated. So if you wanted to have something over here, you can have multiple arrays over there, and you can just hit enter. And if you try to put concat array, you will be able to see that it is kind of getting everything. You've got the first array which is there, then these are the users whatever we have got, okay, up to here, and then these are the rest of the elements that we have provided as an array. So basically we have two arrays, and there is one thing which we are putting arbitrary as per our need, and then we are getting a new array over here. So that is how your arrays.concatenation work. So if you have two different arrays, you wanted to put, there will be some use cases in LWC where you will be having two different arrays, but you will be needing an outcome into a different array, which is going to be a third array. There you can use concat. Now if you wanted to have like entries, so you can just have go on entries, and you will get array iterator over here, and you are going to get all these iterators over here, as that is why it said that it is going to return the array iterator for you. If you wanted to kind of get the keys, so you can have just say that is what one of the method was keys. It is also going to return the array iterator. Similar kind of things, it is basically going to be the same. Now let's quickly talk about every method. Okay, so what we'll have is We'll say that let's quickly have users over here, again a new array. This time we are going to provide some, say that 12, 30 to 34. These are some of the numbers, some random arrays that I have given. Suppose that we wanted to check if each of every element of this array is greater than 23. If that is the case, we wanted to say that okay, array is greater than 23, or we wanted to have if that array of like each element of this array is greater than 18, we can say that this array contains the users who are above 18. Okay, so we say that what we will do is we'll say that users dot every. Okay, this is the method, and what this method actually contains is this method contains a function. You can see here it is a callback function, and this is the this argument. So what we have is we'll say that okay, there is one function, and this callback function basically contains three parameters. One is the current value, okay, another one is the index, whatever the index of that array is, and then is the complete array. So we say that original array. These are the three parameters that this particular there should be, yeah, that this particular function callback function takes. And there is something which you can say that this, which is the this argument, which can be any this is basically the optional. You can also remove this. Now here what you can have is you can say that return, and this is the current value. So we'll say that current value is greater than 18. And if you wanted to have some sort of alert over here just for the index, you can have the alert as the index, and you can also have the console log. So I will say that console.log, basically it is going to print out the value. So you can have original array, and then you can just go ahead and put enter. So you can say index is 0, and then it is saying that false. Okay, why it says that false? Because every element isn't greater than 18. The first element itself, it found it is less than 18, and that is why it only went for the first index. Okay, if I say every element is greater than up to like let's say that 32, this is the last element, this time it is going to have to like this array is going to iterate till the last element until unless it founds this condition to be false. Okay, it again gave the it again went to 1, and then it just quickly found that okay, this particular condition is false, and it is returning false. If we reverse the condition, okay, we say that okay, this is greater than 10, it is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because it is not founding that condition as a false, and it says true. That means every element in this array, which is this array, is having a value of greater than 10. It can be any number. That is what your every method is going to work for this array. If we talk about on the other side, there is the same kind of method which says that sum of every, there is a method sum which says that if there is at least one method, one element actually, which is basically completing this condition, or we say that accepting this condition, then return true. So that if we try to find out if there is at least one member which is greater than 23, then return as true. We hit enter, it is going to have to that particular value up to 23, and then it said that okay, it's true. So that is how your sum and every method works for that array, for our arrays. Then we have got a from method. So if you remember, we have got a my map where we have used my map. So instead of map, let's quickly use a set over here. So we'll say that okay, we have got my set, and in my set we are going to add an element. So we'll say that it can be like 2 3 elements. So I have got a set which is basically having 3 elements. Okay, now let's say that we are going to create an variable let array, and how we are going to say that, we'll say that array dot from, and where is our set. So this is our set, okay, my set. So if I say okay, and then if I try to put array, I got this particular array over here, and this is basically creating an array. Now if you try to have some sort of array over here, you said that this is simple string. So what it is going to do is it is going to convert this particular string in the form of array, including the white spaces that you have given. Like there is white space after this, there is white space after is and after simple. So you will see that there is basically there are white spaces, total 3 white spaces, and we are able to see in the form of our arrays. So basically that is our array.from method C. There is one method that we've talked about is array. So if there is, suppose that we have got this, okay, so we wanted to find out if a particular variable is in the form of array or not. We can use array.isArray, which is going to accept one parameter, which is the array. If you have some sort of array, or let's say that you have some sort of string over here, it is going to tell you it's not an array and you cannot iterate with this particular array. So what could be the use of this particular element? Suppose that you have an variable and you have to iterate with that variable, but only in the case where that variable is a type of array. Then you can use this, say that array.isArray. If that is the case, then basically iterate where it is going to be a for each loop. Okay. So what we will do is we'll use this here till that, okay, if array dot is array, whatever, if it is an array, we are going to use a for loop. So we'll say that array dot for each, it is again going to accept the 3 parameters like for sum and every, which is going to be the function first, and then inside that function it is going to accept the 3 parameters, is current value, then it is going to be index, and then original array. Now if you wanted to have, so that if you wanted to have current value equal to current value plus index, that is what you wanted to have. And then after if, what you can say is you can just print array. So if you see here, you have got 2 3 2 2 3 plus 2, and if you wanted to see what exactly current value is over here, you can again just go ahead and try to have, let's say that we are going to have a console.log. So basically what we'll say, we'll try to print what exactly current value is before and after. It is going to have a before value. So it is saying 23 index is not actually having the sum of that. Okay, got 23 because index is 0, then index is 1 to 223 through 2, and then index is 2, then it is 2, and then that is what we are getting 23, 223 and 2. So basically that is how our array dot for each method works. You can have the manipulation over here, and then you can just perform your logic. And this method dot for each you might be using for almost for every array inside LWC. So now there is one thing which is basically saying that array dot index of, or we say that includes. So if you wanted to say that we have some element, we wanted to check if that element is there in the array or not, it is giving us the error like true or false. Or we say that includes, and if we say 23, we got true because there is an element called 23 in the array, but there is no element called apple in that array. That is how your includes method works, just to find out if the particular element is there available in the array or not. And if you try to say that array dot index of, that is what it is going to do is it is going to return the index in that array. So if you have got 23 is basically on the 0 index, that is why it's got index 0. If you say that 2, it is going to return index 2, and if you say that okay, there is something other element, then it is going to return -1. What -1 is basically indicating that this particular element is not available in this array with the help of index of. So this is basically about includes and index of. Now if we talk about array.join, which is basically a join method where it is going to join the complete array, convert the complete array in the form of a string separated by a comma. So this is basically your a string, and if you try to split this based on a comma, it is going to basically convert this into an array, which is going to be again the same in the form of a string. Say that array is basically here, it is a number. Now these are a string, that's why it is converted into the strings. And if you say that in case of join method, whenever you are using join, you say that if you try to provide some sort of join, like what value you wanted to have a join over here, say that you wanted to have some sort of asterisk, or you wanted to have some sort of other a particular thing like hyphen, or you have wanted to have some sort of pound keys or dollar keys, whatever you will provide over there, it is going to use that. And this is why if you see here, we've got this particular thing like 23 space comma space. That is how your array.join method works. So now let's see if there is any method which we missed out. So basically we have uh, discussed all about all these methods which are mentioned over here. So this is about arrays and some of the array methods. Thank you for your time, and in the coming video we'll talk about the additional array methods which are also important and can be important for your component development. Thank you.